Shalom, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. We're looking today at Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 19. In the previous section, up to verse 18, we've seen the coming judgment which the Lord is sending against his people of Judah and the city of Jerusalem because of their sin. And here we're going to actually change gears a little bit and listen to the prophet Jeremiah himself as he expresses his own anguish at seeing what is coming upon his people. He speaks for himself, but he also speaks as one who is in solidarity with the rest of his people. So let's go ahead and read the text in Hebrew as we get started. Me'ai, achula, kirot libi, home li libi, lo achrish, ki kol shofar, shamarti nafshi, terumat milchama. Well, we start with me'ai, this little repetition. So we have here the word me'ai. It doesn't really exist in the singular, so it's always written in either a plural construct or plural with a suffix on it. And here you have an I, which is a suffix. It's first person, first common singular suffix. And me'ai is a word which would mean the inner part. It's always, as I said, in the plural. So it's the inner parts, the intestines. Old King James would translate it bowels, the bowels of compassion, as the seat of emotions, lower down than the heart, so to speak, in Hebrew anthropology. So this is my intestines, but obviously it's a metaphor for this deepest part of one's emotions. So it's my anguish, we might translate that. And then achula. And now this word here, you're going to see that there's a Ketiv and a Karei reading for this. We're going to keep the Ketiv reading, but even in the Ketiv reading, you may have a vocalization with a Hirik underneath the Hate. I think the preferred reading is to read vocalization with a Shurek here, keeping the same Vav in the middle, but with the Shurek and not using the Hirik. The Kere reading is actually from a different verb, which means to wait. This verb here, though, as we have, with an Aleph at the beginning and an A at the end, this is going to be a cohortative. It's going to be a first common singular, obviously, and it's kal. And as I mentioned with Ketiv, it's actually from the verb hul, so it's just written just like that, hul. And this would mean to twist in anguish, to writhe in pain or anguish. So it's a very emotional word here. And with the cohortative, it's almost an idea of a necessity or compulsion. Oh, I must suffer. I have to suffer as I see what's happening to my people. So very strong language that we're finding so far in this verse. And then kirot libi. Well, you have kirot, which is in construct state with libi. Kir is a word which means the wall. It means a wall or and it's a masculine plural despite the ot ending of it here. So kirot would be the walls of my heart. So it's the, because this is definite here, so the definiteness goes all the way through the construct chain. So it's the walls of my heart. So the prophet is feeling his heart pounding within him as he can sense this, as he watches the destruction that's coming, or the announcement of it. Then home, this is a verb, but it's a participle. See the whole vowel that we have here, and it's a participle masculine singular, and it's a kal from the verb hama. Those three letters there, which means to be agitated, to make noise, to again the idea of suffering or to be extremely agitated within. It is agitated for me, my heart, and my heart is again the subject, so to speak, of the participle here. So my heart is agitated for me, or we could almost translate that within me, with respect to me. And the negation lo aharish. And here we have with an aleph at the beginning, nothing at the end. This is going to be an imperfect, first singular. This time it's a hiphil with this hirik yo that you see in the middle there. And from the verb harash, which means to keep silent. So I will not keep silent. I'm not able to keep silent, even if I wanted to, because of what I'm seeing. It's moving me so deeply. Why not? Because the sound of the shofar, the ram's horn, the sound of the ram's horn. Now, if you look at this, it looks like I have heard, because you have this T ending on it. It looks like you're going to have a perfect, which is what it is. It looks like it's going to be a first singular and a kal from the verb shama, to hear. But we've seen several cases in Jeremiah already where this T ending is actually an old formative for a 2FS ending. You go back to chapter 2, verse 20, for instance, and many, numerous places since then in Jeremiah. And that does seem to fit well with nafshi, because nafshi is my soul. You get a pronoun suffix on the end, and nefesh, so it's my soul. So we could probably read this because you have heard, not I have heard, but you have heard the sound of the ram's horn, the sound of the trumpet, O my soul. So this would be a vocative in apposition explaining who the subject of it is. So you have heard the sound of the trumpet, O my soul. Yeah, that's probably a better way to read it that way, as a 2FS. You've heard the sound of the trumpet. You've heard the cry or the alarm, usually with a ha at the end to ruma, but here it's in construct form with milchama. So it's a cry or an alarm of battle. Milchama is the word for battle or war. So we can understand why the prophet is so deeply moved as he envisions this destruction coming upon them with the Babylonian army coming in. Let's go ahead and hide our work there, squeeze our text down, and look at a couple of translations. First of all, in the ESV, my anguish, for the old King James, my bowels, my intestines, anguish expresses well what's behind this word here, so that's good. I writhe in pain for this one word here, taking the cohortative almost as a present, but I think it's even more compulsive than that. I have to do this because of what I'm seeing. Oh, the walls of my heart. Yeah, right there, walls of my heart. My heart is beating wildly. So once again, my heart is agitated, beating for me. Beating wildly is an interesting way of translating this, but it's probably pretty accurate. I cannot keep silent, for I hear the sound of the trumpet, the sound of the trumpet. Now they've just put I hear for my soul, because the I is representing my soul. So they've turned all of this into a first person, which that's an explanation of what's involved with my soul referring to the whole person. So a little bit of an interpretive question there, but a valid one. I hear the sound of the trumpet, the alarm of war. And then in the New Jerusalem Bible, which is one we don't usually look at, but I thought they did it pretty good here. In the pit of my stomach, how great my agony. So they've kind of combined all of this. My intestines, I writhe in agony. And then walls of my heart. So the pit of my stomach, that actually is a little bit of a paraphrase, but it really expresses what we feel, isn't it? When we go through we receive some very devastating news. My heart is throbbing over here for home. I cannot keep quiet, for I have heard. So they've done the same thing. It's not you have heard, O my soul, but I have heard the trumpet call. So they've explained that as well, the battle cry. In any case, what the prophet is seeing and experiencing in his vision as about to come upon his people is having its profound effect upon him. He feels this. He cries out in his anguish, as the people will soon as well, because it's deeply moving, and it's such a sad commentary that the Lord has to use such extreme measures to chastise and teach his people. Well, check back with us soon as we continue working through this text of Jeremiah chapter 4 in our weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Shalom.